Right, yes, hello, and welcome back to Free Vinyl Discovery. Today, we got a reappearance of an artist in China Crisis and their 1985 album, Flaunt, Imperfection. Now, you may remember seeing China Crisis a little while ago in the halfway special where I got 2 of the same album in Working with Fire and Steel, Possible Love Songs Volume 2. How that person that ended up having the pile came into possession of 2 of the same album, I'll never know. But one thing's for sure is that 2 copies of that one album, it's almost making up one album, because I didn't have that many good things to say about China Crisis's second album. This is more of the same, unfortunately. This is their 1985 album. By this point in the 1980s, I think artists were starting to steer away from that sound that had dominated the early part of the decade, the synth-heavy, not really much change happening, just repetition of the same sound over and over. And China Crisis didn't get the memo. Now, before I go on any further, let's talk about the physical album itself. Now, there's a funny pattern on it that looks like it's damaged. So actually, I think it's supposed to be going for texture, apart from in this corner where there is definitely some rippage. I'd be surprised, though, if this album got a lot of play from its previous owner. It's certainly not going to get it from me. The other album just got a lot of play because I had double the album to listen to, and I needed to do some quality assurance on your behalf. But this time, I only have to go through this album once. From what I can gather, songs from this album are actually more played than songs from Working with Fire and Steel. I'm not really sure why. Working with Fire and Steel I found quite charming in its 80s-ness. Here I'm starting to see that the sound is getting a bit tired. They are clinging on to the sound of the 80s with every fibre of their being, but it's already losing its fashion status, and it's showing here. I've re-listened to this album on streaming, and to be honest, I still can't tell you any distinctive songs. The album plays perfectly. Yeah, great. Love that. 10 out of 10 when it comes to its actual presentation in the physical form, but that's not what we're here for, is it? Let's face it. I mean, it's great that I've happened to come across a copy of this album that's in perfect nick, but I'm not going to play it, so it's useless to me that it's in good condition. At least if it was all scratched up, I could justify getting rid of it. There are some relatively good songs. I mean, Black Man Ray is okay. That's one that seems to sound a bit different. But this is basically them. It feels like Supper's Ready, where the whole thing is just one song, but the difference is that the whole song isn't that creative. I mean, at least Supper's Ready had Peter Gabriel going a bit mental. Here, nothing's going mental, nothing's happening especially. King in a Catholic Style is okay as well, and Blue Sea is quite a nice end to the album. Apart from that, I'm not singing the praises of this album at all. See, this is apparently worth $4.99 at someone's shop. It's in a top 60. Top 60 what? Top 60 albums we want to get rid of before it takes up too much space? I don't know, but I'm certainly not going to be going back to Flaunt the Imperfection anytime soon. What do you think? Do you think this is better than Working with Fire and Steel? Or are we totally in the dark when it comes to China Crisis? I certainly am. I'm happy to stay there as well. I don't think I'm going to be going back to China Crisis. I'm certainly not going to do a deep dive of them. I see no point in doing that. I believe they're still going, so I hope they've changed, but based off of the track record that they've set, no pun intended, I highly doubt they have. They're just still living in the 80s and not the best part of it. Anyway, hopefully I haven't offended you. I mean, unless you're in China Crisis, I probably haven't. So, there we are. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you again next week.